Paige. I'm the spell specialist at HausWitch Home and Healing here in Salem, Massachusetts, and I consider myself a junk witch. I'm really fascinated by this idea of the junk drawer in general, which is probably something that we all have in our house in one form or another, or maybe it's the bottom of your purse or the center console of your car, but it's full of these objects that we kind of couldn't decide if they had value. You know, in the moment we thought, I can't throw this out, but I don't know what I'll use it for, so it doesn't have value right now, but it might in the future. And it turns the junk drawer into this portal, this like weird liminal space of all these items that are just kind of waiting to prove themselves. And I think as witches, we really know how to find the value in the weird stuff, the stuff that most of society doesn't. I like to call that the sacred mundane. I wanted to talk about a few things that I'm pretty sure we all have accumulated in our houses and maybe haven't thought of in a ritualistic way. So the first one, probably my favorite, I actually talk about this a lot, is the penny. For something so tiny, it symbolizes a lot of things, and of course the first thing that we need to acknowledge that it symbolizes is capitalism, so it's great for use in spells for tearing down those systems and replanting something else, especially because the penny doesn't really make sense. The materials are worth more than it's worth in currency, in American currency at least, and pretty much nothing is worth 1 cent. Nothing is really sold for 1 cent unless it's some online scam where then they charge you like $20 for shipping. But the penny is made of copper, which is a really conductive metal. It's great for transferring energy, so it's kind of like a palm-sized generator for that sort of thing. And it also symbolizes the sun and fire, and I think it makes a really great offering to the god Mercury as well, who is the god of commerce, but also a trickster god. And when Mercury is in retrograde, he plays a lot of tricks on us as far as the things that we consider fixed, the things that we ascribe value to. And so I just feel like he really gets a kick out of pennies in particular. So I like to leave those as offerings around town or in the places that I'm traveling, heads up, to symbolize lucky pennies, which is another value that we ascribe to them in our society. So anytime you find pennies, I would consider that a magical moment for sure. Another one, which might be a little bit harder to see, so I'll do that beauty blogger thing that we were talking about, paper clips. Just normal paper clips. I like to use them to carve things into candle wax or sigils during ritual. It can be used in place of an athame, a ritual knife, which is really, really pretty, but maybe not something we all have access to. And the other cool thing about paper clips is that they're bendy, obviously, so you can twist them into different shapes for use in your spell work. It can be an S for success. You can twist them into spirals, which have a lot of meanings as far as community and cycles. It can be a little like lightning bolt for use in spells that call in that sort of power. So paper clips should definitely not be overlooked at the bottom of the junk drawer as having value other than holding documents together. I feel like every house has random screws and nails sitting around, even if you don't know why. I'm not particularly a home improvement type person, but I've somehow accumulated all these screws. And I actually wrote a very, very simple spell with only a screw and a piece of paper. It was during the so-called president's impeachment trials, and I called it Donald Trump, You Screwed Yourself. And that was a lot of fun. And I won't say it won't work because he technically was impeached, but this is a really weird system that we work with. So maybe we all just need to do that together before election time. But screws are really fun symbolically, not just for wrath spells, but also for improvement and for community, holding things together. Just a great symbolic tool. In my Irish heritage, nails were actually used ritually. Iron nails were thought to be protective against the fae folk. And so people would put them under their mattresses or in their pockets and carry them around so they don't get transported into fairyland. And that doesn't sound so bad these days. But since a lot of our nails aren't iron these days, except the ones we might be digging up from the basement, we can still consider that symbolism and consider nails to be really protective. We're tough as nails. We have, sharp nails looking out for us. So that's something to think about as far as protection and boundaries, especially. And then the last one, which is probably the weirdest one, I think we probably all have these random electronics chargers around the house too, and we're not quite sure where they came from or what they go to anymore. Maybe we'll never use them again for another device because they just don't have that port anymore, but we're still hanging on to them. I know I have a few. And so again, symbolically, chargers charge things, right? So if you have a spell jar or a sigil or even a perimeter of a spell that you're doing and you're looking to create that charging energetic atmosphere, there's really no good reason you can't use some of your actual electronics chargers to do that. They're the right shape, the right size. It doesn't have to be like silken red cord rope to do what you want to do with your spells. So I hope that got the wheels turning a little bit. I would love to hear from you all and what you've got in your houses and what you might be thinking as far as these things. It's really all about the intention that you put behind your magic. So everything can mean something different to everyone else if that's what works.